Wasn't my idea in the first place. All I wanted to do was have a podcast. A podcast. I'll kill everybody.
No, you won't.
Oh, yes, I will.
You can't remember your
I
password
wanted to eat
kill
this
people.
donut. That's all I wanted to do. I don't get to eat that.
Eat it.
I haven't poured myself a pop. I got nothing.
Wow. Well, we are the New Year's Eve. Not actually New Year's.
Well, it looks
crazy.
like New Year's Eve.
Yeah, good job. Yep, we're here.
When you see Boat, come on there. Tell him to change the damn things. I can't remember the damn password.
Stop cursing.
Damn. Oh, yeah, you're right. Now we're on YouTube.
Idiot.
What? Damn. I can't say damn.
Shut up. And then die.
Listen. The reason you're in a foul mood is because you picked this system. This is you. You're the one that came with a pie piece. Don't blame me for your shortcomings.
Actually, I didn't blame. I didn't. This system was okay.
No, wait till I talk to you about it. Prepare for a schooling, Junior.
6 people watching.
Oh, whoops. Hi. People are showed up? That's stunning. They're probably like, where are the amigos on?
All right. When it stop on the live stream, keep the chat open.
You ready to kick this? Huh? Oh, yeah.
So we're not eating up all your bandwidth, so we don't sound like and look like idiots.
Oh, we don't want that.
More so.
That's right, we don't want that. You ready to kick this thing off? Didn't need to do this highlighter, that's for sure. I'm going to go right off the cuff on this one.
We just had a massive loss of audience.
I don't need nothing. How much can you lose at this point? Hey, chat. We're going to go for it. Sorry we're late. We had microphone trouble.
And camera trouble.
And late guy trouble as well. You ready?
Let me say hi to Duncan.
The dunk, the ever-present dunk. You know, I couldn't get a. You know what I couldn't find on this thing? Was a freaking opening price. Isn't that weird? So, look at this tome I've got here.
Oh, Lord, that won't bore anyone.
Oh no, this is exciting stuff here. I promise you. Are you ready? Can you deglare your?
No, I can't
yes,
actually. No, seriously, it's green, so it's just green screen.
That's much worse. All right, that's good enough. Yeah. All right, you ready? Let's go.
Wait.
That's appropriate. Hey. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another animated ARG Presents. I am Anime Aaron, joined this week by a man who is one of the few people on Earth to actually live his life at under 15 frames per second, the Brent.
Hey!
See what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Horrible,
hey, how's it going?
Horrible. Great, fabulous. Did you have a great Christmas?
I had a good Christmas,
Outstanding.
Yourself?
Oh, man. Can it get any better? I don't think so.
I know it could.
Yeah.
Money didn't shower from above.
That's true. So, if you missed last week, we spun the wheel and we came up with the improbable deal. Thanks to this man right here, we are playing games on the NEC PCFX. It's so cool, they don't even need words to describe it, just letters. Brent, what did you know about the NEC PCFX before this week?
The big zero.
And what do you know right now, having fooled with it for a week?
The big one.
That's right.
I'm not going to rush out and get one.
Don't worry, folks. This is why Amigo Aaron does the research, and Brent, he takes care of business and other... well, what do you do, come to think of it?
Well, I play the games real good.
That's right. And you also make horrible decisions.
Me no talk well, but play game good.
Which is why you're mic'd up. So... let's learn about I learned a lot of this week about the PCFX. Now, for those of you that have tuned into our sister show, the Amigos, Everything Amiga Podcast, cross promotion, you'll have heard me occasionally mention that I've been playing the heck out of my PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16. I love that machine. I've been playing the crap out of it here over the Christmas break. So what are the odds? And I'm telling you, this is totally random, that the sequel to the PC Engine would be right here in my hot little hands. Well, sort of, the paperwork for it anyway. And we're talking about the PCFX. And you're thinking to yourself, holy smokes, the sequel to the TurboGrafx, this thing's going to be super cool. It's going to be hotter than hot. Well, let me tell you something, folks. It ain't, and I'm going to get into why. So, the PCFX Again, manufactured by NEC and Hudson Soft, if you'll recall, who had their thumb right in the old pie of the original TurboGrafx. They did a great job. Did lots of great games. Gosh, they were responsible for the Bonks, the Bombermans. A lot of great games on the TurboGrafx, and of course, they've made plenty of games for the Nintendo Entertainment System and other. They spread the wealth, y'all.
Big. Yeah.
So, with those two powerhouses behind it, you knew it was good. So this console was released December 23rd of '94.
Yes.
Right? And amazingly, I could not find a price that this thing opened at, and I looked everywhere. I couldn't find one. But one thing I did read was it was a very expensive console. So you can do the math on that. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, how is this the sequel to the PC Engine? Because we had the Super Graphics, the Turbo Duo, the PC CD. That's true, but those are all sort of extensions of the PC Engine. This is a whole new gimmick here. So, just a little bit about the PC Engine. I want you to hear these incredible specs, and then you can determine how awesome it was. So, this thing had a 32-bit NEC RISC processor, dude, running at 21.5 megahertz.
Okay.
It had a 2x CD-ROM that was at 300K a second. Not bad. That's on 2x. Hey, it's better than the 1x that a lot of these things had, right? 2 megs of main memory, a 1 meg of shared memory, and 256K of dedicated VRAM. That's, VRAM.
Yeah, video.
This thing had an operating system ROM in it as well. It had pretty good, resolutions. It did all the way up to 341 by 240p and 256 by 480i. Not bad.
That's horrible.
Well, I mean, you got to think of the time, dude.
I know, but you got it. Okay, go on. All right. I'm not impressed so far.
This thing had composite ANS video out, which was something that was about right for about when this was going on. This thing actually had expansion ports in it. It had I/O expansion ports. It had a backup RAM expansion port. It had VPU expansion ports. All right, not bad, right?
How many of those got used?
Well, some of them did. It also had, unlike its predecessor, it had multiple joystick ports and came with a 6-button joystick.
Yes.
And the 6-button joystick's very reminiscent of, say, your a Saturn joystick. That's what it reminds me of. It's got a start. It's got 6 buttons. I believe does that have a select? I think it does.
Yeah, it does.
On it as well. So, this thing was released, as I mentioned, this December 23rd, 1994. And it was a couple weeks after the PlayStation had released. Now ponder that, if you will. The PlayStation, whoops. And it was a month after the Sega Saturn released. Dope, whoople. So why would they do that? Well, that wasn't the plan. When this thing debuted at a consumer electronics show, and they were showing games that were using the technology they perfected for this machine. Now, this machine has one major gimmick, right? I mean, it's a competent little machine.
It is.
The gimmick it had was you've heard of these older machines, like for example, we'll talk about the Amiga CD32 that had a like an MPEG expansion card. Another one that did that was the CDI that had one, and they would allow full motion video.
Right.
These guys went a different direction with this sort of a JPEG variant video motion technology.
Okay.
And what it would do is it could input output very quickly. Okay. And so effectively you could have seamless video in gameplay. And what I mean by that, like for example, let's say a game like a Dragon's Lair. You could, instead of having to wait for that disc to spin to load up levels, stuff like that, it would be instantaneous. It could literally react with the motion of your joystick. It's very quick. And so, and this was the basis of this technology going forward. But this was like 3 or 4 years before it launched. And the bottom of the truth is, they just had trouble getting this thing out the door. And so, but when you got to think, this would have been like 89, 90. This would have been a pretty big deal, and would have been some blowaway stuff.
Sure.
But what happened to NEC's PCFX is sort of the same thing that happened partially to the Saturn. And that was the PlayStation showed up with a bunch of custom chips that were made to display polygons in 3D.
Right.
And suddenly, overnight, it seemed, the 2D gaming that we'd all known and loved for all those decades was gone.
It was changing, yeah.
And 3D was the hot topic. You know, of course, this is when you had the Jag out there as well doing it. So, I mean, you had a lot of these systems. People wanted the 3D, and this system came up woefully short in 3D.
Yeah,
it just didn't have what it took to do that stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, if you don't have your chips to handle polygons and you're worried more about sprites and FMVs, then you know, no matter what your processor is, you're not going to be able to push the polygon count.
That's right. And the sad truth of it is this thing has it's got a rich processor. It's no slow poke.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if you consider what NEC and Hudson had done with a much slower 8-bit processor that was sort of masquerading as a 16-bit processor on the TurboGrafx, they pushed a lot out of that. So you can imagine what you could do with a 32-bit RISC processor.
Oh,
you can
sure.
Really punch it up.
But it's nothing compared to specialized chips.
Right. They also forego the Who cards of the TurboGrafx for the CD. Probably a wise decision.
Yeah.
Cheaper, can hold infinitely more space on them. And of course, when you're going to be using this these 30 JPEG per second images,
right?
That adds up. It's not a ton of space, but you're going to need some. Plus, the games are going to get bigger. So that was the technology they had going forward. Well, like I said, they drug their feet a little bit. It was not like they did it on purpose. It just things went down, and it didn't come out as well as they'd hoped. But eventually, they came out with it. It just came out at a bad time. Now,
real bad.
If you think of all that, you're probably thinking to yourself, "Wow, you know, that's nutty." But you know, at least this thing had some ripping, awesome, booty shaking, good 2D games. Well, this is part 2 of why the system failed.
Well, this should probably be part 1.
The manufacturers, NEC, put out this dictate, this order, this command. And the command effectively was, we don't want any games out for this thing that aren't anime-based. We want, I'm not making this up.
Oh, no, I know.
They want anime all the time. Their gimmick was, we're going to take advantage of this ability to stream this video, and we're going to do, it's going to be nonstop anime, okay? Now, and I guess this was their hook, okay?
I mean, and it's good to have a hook. They just chose really bad bait.
Yeah, well, very good, Brent. So what happened was, you got a bunch of, first of all, and this became obvious pretty quickly. They gave up on trying to even think about sending this thing to America. Now, a little background on this. The TurboGrafx 16 in the States was a very small potato.
Yeah.
The NES smashed it, and then the Genesis
market.
and the Master System, we were all way bigger. All right. However, in Japan, the PC Engine, which is the TurboGrafx name in Japan, I should mention that, the PC Engine did great, and it was right behind Nintendo, and it was ahead of Sega.
Yeah.
So it was a big player over there. It was a very popular system. But foregoing America, since the popularity wasn't there, they just didn't feel like it was going to work here, and they were right.
Oh,
I'll
very
tell you that
right.
right now.
Yeah.
They focused on Japan. Okay, so when this thing released, the launch titles were Graduation 2, Neo Generation FX, Battle Heat, and Team Innocent. Okay, now this probably doesn't mean much to many people. Like I said, I had a look at some of these, you know, and it is what it is. They're like anime type games. Now, for a person like me, and sometimes the Brent here, who might want to import a system like this just for fun, okay? This system is sort of similar to the Wonder Swan in that the majority of the games are not going to be stuff you're going to want to be able to play here unless you speak and read Japanese.
Yes.
The Japanese, this isn't one of those systems where they put a bunch of English in it. In fact, we were very, very limited to the amount of games that we could play. There's about 8 games that you could probably get away with playing without speaking or reading Japanese.
The system is heavily dating sim based and RPG based.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, all theming around anime.
Yeah. So when you have those sorts of games, like I said, it cuts out the. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. Import it, go for it. I mean, they're out there, and I'll give you the eBay stats later. But This isn't the kind of system you just go buy it on a whim and you can take it home and have a good old time, because
No.
you're not going to have a good old time. I know that I believe that Team Innocent was it was almost like a Resident Evil type game, so I watched that get played a lot. One thing, and as Brent mentioned, there were a lot of RPGs. Another thing that this system became rather infamous for is having a lot of hentai titles.
Well, yeah,
sort of like cartoon porn.
That's dating sims half of the dating sims
and
library.
then there's dating sims with a wink, wink, and a nudge, nudge.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, if you're into that, I'm not sure you could play those either.
No, you couldn't get anywhere,
like I said,
unless you knew the language.
We were lucky. Even Brent's game this week was
rough.
I just kind of had to grin and bear it. Now, luckily, someone had went through and translated my game, and I'll get to my game when I get to it. But
what? You had it translated?
Well,
first?
no, someone wrote down what they were saying. Yeah,
okay. I was going to say.
So this system debuts with these games, and it only trickled out about 82 titles in its existence.
Yeah.
Now, I should mention that the machine ran from 94 to 98.
Which is way longer than I would expect its lifespan.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I was surprised it ran that long, but they held on like grim death. It only shipped, according to, and I read this 3 different places just to double check. They only shipped 400,000 of these in the entire country. Now, again, this is only Japan, but that's still pretty pitiful number.
And that's shipped, not sold.
Well, I'm assuming they sold at some point, but for what price, who knows? So, now, I looked through a bunch of these games just to get a flavor. In fact, I played several. And one of the ones I played was they had a ladies wrestling game with live action, actual ladies that were actual wrestlers, which is I played that one. And I saw a fighting game that was very similar. It might be Battle Heat. But they even had fighting games on this, but the fighting games were, they were full motion video based.
Yeah.
So you would be a fighter, and then across the screen you'd see your opponent, and they would be like a go symbol, and then you would do your thing, and they would do their things, and then whatever happened, there would be a result. It reminded me of Micro League Wrestling, sort of, for the Amiga that we played, where just like you would do a thing, they would do a thing, then there'd be an animated version of what happened.
Right.
And it was to say this was wacky is an understatement. This is wacky.
No, it's no good. It's what it is.
I wanted to play these games, but again, I downloaded them and tried to play them, and it was tough. Now, just for fun, let's talk about the emulation on this. I thought some of the other things we emulated was hard. This one was super hard for me to get. I had a heck of a time getting the emulation up and run on this. Now, you can have it on Raspberry Pi, which I didn't, so I had to download it and do it old school. And the main emulator that runs it has no graphical user interface, so it's a bunch of wacky antics. Old school, getting it to work. But I did get it to work, and it runs well.
Yeah,
for what it does. So, as we mentioned, this thing passed away young, and under its belt, the majority of the titles were basically unplayable in America, and you probably wouldn't want to play them that much anyway today. If you're an RPG person or heavily into anime, this is probably the system for you, because there were a lot of titles. Now, I was an anime guy back in the day. I have let my geek card run out on the anime. I don't watch that much anymore.
You didn't renew the old anime stamp?
I didn't. But you know, I had some experience with it, and I looked over a lot of these titles and didn't recognize.
Yeah, they were all animes that never made it to America.
Right. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean much, you know. So in the end, this thing came too late with no 3D, and then the horrible choice of having only anime-based games sealed the deal. Now, there were a few titles that snuck out that were, I don't know if they were desperation titles or long-standing series that got on it, like yours. But like I said, the majority of it was, in fact, anime.
Yeah.
And you've got to consider something else before we close up on this description of the system. Hudson Soft, as we mentioned, had a long and storied history of great games.
A vast library they could have pulled from and chose not
Absolutely.
to.
This thing could have had Bombermans. It could have had new versions of Bonks. It could have had
Adventure Island
stuff. It could have had a ton of stuff on it. So the choice to not put known properties on a system was
baffling.
It really is. And the more I read about this system, the less sense it made to me.
Yeah.
Because I can't understand how businessmen made these decisions. I guess they were so tied up in the ability for this thing to run these animated JPEGs that they thought that was their only hook. Well, maybe it was. I mean, you've got to think, at the time when they released this, they couldn't compete 3D with PlayStation. They couldn't compete 2D with the Saturn. So what are they going to do? They got to have something. I guess is what they had to hang their hat on.
They made a decision early on. You know, this is what we've got. We have to push these strengths. Here's the problem, though. That was dumb. They could have just been another 2D system that had the ability to do this full motion stuff, and I think they would have been a lot better off. They totally shoehorned themselves into this is what we are, but what they were meant nothing. I mean, it was a technology that was literally a flash in the pan that you don't see today.
In a weird way, this is probably the only system we've covered that has something in common with the Action Max.
Yeah.
Right? All action, granted. But you know, you've got all your eggs in that basket. If the basket don't hold the eggs, you're boned.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, we did take a look at two of the titles that were more English friendly. And Brent, we're going to let you go first. What did you pick this week?
I took the safe bet and went with Super Power League FX.
I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw what you'd picked, I was so happy.
Yeah.
Because I had looked over, like I said, I'd looked over the majority of these games, and I was just like, holy smokes. This is going to be a tough. I don't know I don't know what he's going to pick. And so this was not the worst choice, in my opinion.
I went over the list of games, and I was going to pick a casino-based game because this system does have several pachinko gambling-type games on it, and they were all adult-oriented. So that kicked that out. So then I said, okay, let's step it back more. Let's really get out of my comfort zone. I will find a game that maybe has a translation, really screw with Aaron, and go one of those dating sim types. But they were all horrible and had zero American I mean, there was no one dedicated set up to translate these games or give you a good idea what was going on. So I had to fall back and do. I mean, we don't do a lot of sports titles on this show, so I'm glad that I did get to do a sports title.
And we like sports. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Me and Boat's the same way. We didn't do hardly any this year.
So I said, Super Power League FX. You know, get off the bench, get in here. And this was the most underwhelming, nothing to do sports game there is. Did it play a game of baseball? Yes. Did it play it well? Sure. But it was so no frills, so no action, no pizzazz, no personality, and which I'm going to get into later, absolute worst thing a video game could be. So, Super Power League FX by Hudson Soft, because out of them and NEC were pretty much the only people that made games for this.
They made all, yeah.
It is your typical sports baseball game. You can play versus the computer or another player, 2-player only. You get from the Nepal Professional Baseball League. That's where this is centered around, of course. They do have options where you can make your own teams and kind of recruit your own players. Obviously, I couldn't do a lot of that, being that it was in Japanese, but I did fiddle with it. I tried. And it's very basic, very bare bones. It's not even, you just recruit players that are already in the game. There are training modes, 3 of them, so you can practice your fielding, practice your batting, practice your pitching. Standard fare, it's not anything special. It doesn't take you to a training ground. It doesn't have like nets or different perspectives or anything like that. It's the exact same thing as playing the game, except when you're practicing fielding, for example, you just pitch the ball gets hit, and then you throw it to first or second. Or it's playing baseball, but without 3-out rules. Same thing goes with the batting and the pitching. And then you have your actual versus. You can go through a season, typical season affair. You know, you play all the games, win losses. Somebody goes to the playoffs. or you can just play versus your computer or another player, which is what I did. You play. It has tons of stadiums. I'll give it credit for that. All the stadiums are drab and boring. At least I looked. It looked like it had 12 stadiums, one for each team, which is pretty awesome. But they were all boring. Maybe they're boring in real life, but they don't have anything that's waterfalls in the outfield or crazy gimmicks or anything. They're all just baseball fields. So the pitching is, press your button, hold down to make it go fast, hold up to make it go slow. You can sort of add curves to it. They try to make the game realistic to a fault, because in the first 6 innings of play, I never even got a ball out of the infield. Eventually, I did start getting base hits. I think when the game ended, I had 6 total hits, 1 run, which is pretty, standard fare for actual baseball games. That's certainly a realistic stat line. I got crushed by the computer, but I accidentally played against the All-Star team. My first, but it didn't matter, and I'm glad I did, because the computer hit a home run. Did you see any home runs on yours?
No.
Okay, hit the home run. You don't even see them rounding the bases. It goes up to the same scoreboard that it goes to whenever you end an inning, and you see the numbers tick up, and then that's it.
Is there any fireworks?
No, nothing. There are no special effects, and it has a digitized crowd with this low grade animation, 3-frame animations of the same person cheering over and over. That's it's just stretched out, and they've probably captured 1/3 of a screen and then copy and pasted it 2 times over to fill the screen. Gosh, I can't think of anything. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about something that rarely gets talked about in video games, but it needs to be said. This game, its worst crime, 100% forgettable. It's not good. It's not. It does nothing new. It doesn't break any ground, and it's not so bad. It's not an Urban Yeti that you can at least, or a Crazy Golf that you can at least talk about and say that the people didn't care. This is your run-of-the-mill, play it safe game where nothing happens, nothing's interesting. It's been said, it's been done, and now it's forgotten.
Now, this was part of a series, though, right? This wasn't the first, and it wasn't
No,
the last.
Right. They have Super Nintendo versions of this, which really it's the exact same gameplay. It's the exact same everything. It could have been a direct port, because this did nothing special, took no advantages of the FMV, certainly lacked any anime. I struggled to care about this game, and that is really the absolute worst crime a video game can have.
You're saying it's dull?
No, it's worse than dull.
It's like
nothing.
A big glass of water.
No, it's nothing. It has no redeeming quality. You played this. What did you think?
Well, just to preface my statements, as Brent mentioned, this was in Japanese, and so I did not even attempt to go into the finite points of the game, such as they were. This could be a tremendous strategy game or managerial simulator. I don't know.
No, it's not.
So
you can't even play computer versus computer.
I'm just going to comment on the game. All right. And I also assumed it was officially licensed, but I wasn't 100% sure because I don't follow Japanese baseball. That said, I have been a big baseball fan in the past. This game wasn't hard to pick up.
No.
It played
standard
1-button swings and 1-button bunts, and you can I figured out how to do pickoff attempts and stuff. It wasn't
standard
that difficult.
Nope.
The graphics are, like I said, I have to echo Brent on this. They're not what I would call first rate.
No, they're not even. They're Super Nintendo quality.
Yeah, well, and the opening segment where this is sort of like this 3D rendered I think they try to pretend it's a 3D rendered thing, but it's in 2D.
Yeah, it is.
It's this guy. Even that looks horrible.
Dreadful.
Just the opening is horrible. There's a sound the crowd makes where they're chanting or singing, and it just never ends. I don't know if was that in every stadium.
It's continuous sound.
I played 2 different stadiums because I didn't really think it mattered that much, and that got real old. That was probably my number 1 crime of this game. It was just that it was very irritating.
Yep.
You hit the ball, you pitch. The pitching's. I mean, I would put this.
Boring.
Well, I'll tell you what this reminded me of. It was like a sort of a more fancy graphic hardball or something. I mean,
it's not even close to hardball.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is it's the way you hardball has better pitching. That's
way better.
But I mean, in terms of just the way of fielding and stuff, it's just like there's a little target. If like for a fly ball, a little target appears on the ground. You kind of put your guy under it, and he catches the ball.
Yeah.
You kind of point the way you want to throw the ball, and he throws it that way.
The batting is 100% two-dimensional. It's not swing high, swing low. It is swing and make contact on a 2D plane. For a game of this era, that is insulting.
The ball doesn't even sort of come in a 3D way.
No, it's 100% 2D scaling.
You hated this game more than me. I just was indifferent towards it. I will say. This game came. What year did you say this game came out?
This was released in 1996. Yeah, end of April.
One of my favorite baseball games was Baseball Stars 2 on the Neo Geo, another Japanese console. And I wanted to see what year that came out to compare it with this. And as I recall, it came out in '92. So this game was 4 years after Baseball Stars 2. Now, Baseball Stars 2's fun, campy, sort of over-the-top baseball. Right? But I mean, if you look at the 2, it looks 100 times better. It sounds 1,000 times better. And it plays 1,000,000 times better. Plus, it has more anime-type stuff in it than this does. It's almost like those games should be swapped, in my opinion. That would have fit much better on a system dedicated to this stuff. I didn't see any use of the JPEG motion.
The crowd. I think that was about it.
In this.
And it was horrible.
It was boring. It was just a boring game. I played 2 or 3 games this week. I played about 4 games. I think about it, but I played 2 stadiums. And I lost all the games, but they were all, even the first game was pretty close. I lost like 1-0, 3-0 a couple times, and maybe 4-0 once. I never scored a run, but I did get hits. I would get men on base. I just didn't have any luck. I mean, it was hitting in this. You sort of get used to it, but it's not like I got real used to it. It was like you said. It was just kind of a humdrum experience. And again, if I were to buy this game on a system that's touted all this extra stuff, this would be a real letdown to me.
I cannot believe that they released this game. I mean, I can't believe Hudson Soft made this game. It is so drab. It is so nothing. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. Let's go on to your game. It's so much better.
I suspect that Hudson Soft was trying to fill out the catalog at this point. Plus, this can't be stated enough. This was an ongoing series. So, I mean, it's not like this is the first one. Presumably, someone somewhere liked this game. I don't know. And it's okay. I mean, it's not bad. It's not the worst, but it's okay.
No, there's so many better baseball titles, even in the era. This did nothing new. It's ugly. It sounds horrible. Let's move on.
Okay.
And guess what? eBay can't be found. You can find the Super NES cartridge. This thing can't be found. And you know why? It's because no one cares about it.
Man, all right. A total burial of baseball. America's pastime. You just put it under the ground.
Well, if America's pastime looked and sound... Well, it does look and sound like this. And that's why I don't watch baseball either.
Oh, an indictment, folks. So
I like baseball. I just don't watch it.
My game was the only... let's go with beat 'em up on the PCFX. And this game, and I'm going to try to get this title out here. The whole week I've called it Zinky, but that's not the full title. It's Kishin Doju Zinky FX Vaju Fight.
Yes.
All right, that's your game. This is a let's go with side-scrolling, but that's not really true. And let's go with beat 'em up, but that's also not really true. And I'll get into what all that means here in a minute. So you hear that title, you're probably like, good God, what in the heck is this? And there is no English translation. That's the title.
Yeah.
So we're going to call it Zinky for short. I'm not going to. So this game is based on a anime that was also manga, and it's called I believe the full title of this thing is Kishin Daji Zinki, or Demon God Child Zinki. So as a dedicated ARG in the field video expert, I took it upon myself to not only play this game, but to watch some of the anime it's based on. So I'll watch the full, because you got to know, right?
Yeah.
Now,
well,
have you
don't
ever watched?
gotta.
How many episodes have you watched of Zinky in the past few months?
0.
I knew it. And how many baseball games did you watch in prep for yours?
Based on less than 0.
No, sir. So.
But okay, go ahead. We'll get into that.
So I watched the first episode of the Zinky animated show, and
with translations, I'm guessing.
With subtitles.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm a purist.
Oh, yeah.
And so, to summarize the show and the antics, there's a girl who is the girl in the game, and her grandmother and her grandfather were basically live at this 1,100-year-old temple.
Sure, because who doesn't?
Yeah. And so, and they also will, like, she sort of like a fortune teller as well. So I mean, by that I mean she just goes out and tries to get you to read fortunes, and her grandfather sort of competes with her, does the same thing. All right. So anyway, they're trying to make some money for this temple. So one of the things she does, she gets in the first episode, she gets a couple broads to go with her up to the temple to perform some sort of magic ceremony, which is, I think it's just a bunch of hocus pocus. But something happens during her ceremony, and she basically summons up this demon guy, all right? Or actually, she summons up this demon guy, but that's a whole other story. So basically, when these two guys are looking for this thing in the temple, it's called a seed, okay? So in the animated, these two guys come up. They go through the temple's defenses, spiritual defenses. They get in there and they get this seed. And the seed, it looks like a seed until you pick it up, and it's actually an eyeball.
Eyeball, yep.
And they basically take the eyeball, and it's got tons of power, and it turns these guys into two big, huge demonic freaks. Okay, so the demonic freaks are just going nuts. Right? There's a legend in this temple of an all-powerful guardian spirit called Zinky. All right. Zinky, all-powerful guardian spirit, okay? So, as these guys are getting ready to basically destroy the girl and her granny that are tied up at this temple, with one last silent prayer, Zinky is released from his imprisonment up there, or his slumber, whatever, and he pops out, and Zinky's a little fella, about 4.5 foot tall. He looks like a little dork. But he's in full Zinky garb. And he's like, I'm a powerful stud. And they're like, no, you're not. And they kick his butt. So it turns out there's an extra seal that keeps Zinky from having full power that you have to implement. And the girl has a bracelet that appears around her wrist. She does a gimmick, makes Zinky full-sized. Zinky says it turns into this huge stud.
Like 6'8"
right?
guy, yeah.
He pummels these demons within an inch of their lives. It destroys their demon butts. They're gone. And then he's like, well, that was cool. I'm back to full power. He goes, now I'm going to kill both of you. I was like, oh, what? And so right before he gets ready to kill both of them, the guy who actually, there was a great wizard that created all this stuff. He's dead, but he's talking to this girl mentally. He goes, like, there's a second seal to keep Zinky from going crazy. And Zinky flips back into a little kid, and the girl goes over and smacks him around. And that's pretty much the end of the first episode. So keep...
How many times did he say Shazam?
No time.
Okay.
He said Zink Jam. So, the main points of this are, just to remember, Zinky, little dork until given full power, then he's a stud, and he's basically tied to this chick who's got a bracelet. That's pretty much all you need to know, and the seed thing. So, I watched the episode. I've seen a lot of anime. It's okay. It ran from 92 to 96, so it wasn't a huge run. It's 51 episodes. if that is your bag. So with that in mind, since this is an anime-based system, you got to have one of these bad boys out on your system. And by the way, there was also a Nintendo version of this as well, Super Nintendo,
Really?
I should say.
Whoa.
But no, it wasn't the same.
Oh.
Don't worry, it's not going to be the same game. So this game comes out on the for the PCFX. So what is it? Well, what it is hard to get started because the first probably 15 minutes of this game is watching.
Oh yeah.
You watch the whole intro. Vajiron. It's a song that plays in the background, and there's crap going on the screen. If you're one of these people that has no patience like me, then then you're in deep trouble in this game. So the premise of this game is that you get to choose between Zinky or the chick with the bracelet.
Yeah.
And you have to go and collect all these seeds.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the seeds have been captured by a bunch of different various bad guys.
Demons, yeah.
At the beginning of the game, this super bad guy basically warps you to another plane where all these guys are at. Okay. So that's the premise of the game. You pick who you want to be. Now, if you pick the girl, she can sort of fire like fireballs, like the little white fireballs. Yeah. And if you're Zinky, he just you play the dork Zinky, and he just goes in and punches and
martial arts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean they're not great. And you have to get real close. That said, I always picked him.
Really?
Yeah, I picked her a couple times, and I don't know what it was. I always picked Zinky. So the first thing you see in a great scene is this monster putting the boots to this other one. Right, the very first thing you see, he's just putting the boots to her.
Just repeatedly just kicking her in the head.
And if
it's amazing.
If you don't start the game for a while, he just does it for a good while.
Yeah.
Puts the boots to her. So finally the game starts, and you go and fight this guy.
Well, one thing you failed to mention, as soon as you start the game and walk over towards her, she gets up and runs. Like, she could have done that at any point.
Yeah.
And the monster's just like, hey, I was kicking you.
So you go and fight this monster, and he's pretty simple. And now in this game, you've got 3 buttons on this 6-button stick. It's not like having a MAME cabinet. You're not taking advantage of all the buttons. The other ones don't do it.
Well, you don't really
You've got block. Now, and this, I have to say, this control scheme was hot garbage. You got block, you got attack, and you've got jump.
Yeah.
Right. This game, it's hard to have a jump button. I had trouble. I kept wanting to push up to jump. I'll be honest, and not because I'm an Amiga guy. It just seemed like the right thing to do in this game.
I can see that.
But that much said, you've got 1 button to attack. You kind of go over, and I mean, I have been told that this game has Street Fighter-like control mechanisms in it.
Yeah.
I use a keyboard to play it, and so my limited ability to do things was based on the fact that I used the keyboard to play it instead of the proper controller. Now I know you used a controller, didn't you?
Yeah.
So once you pummel this first guy, he spits out one of the seeds. You pick it up, and then it's time for long-winded speech from the main bad guy who comes down. And this guy shows up a couple times in this like purple robe with this long-winded speech. And when they talk, these narrative picture squares come up in the corners of the people talking. You know, and it looks fine. It's
it
looks
beautiful.
It looks dead on, like but it just, you can't skip it.
Nope.
And you sit there and watch it, and you don't have a choice. And then this guy teleports to this other dimension, and that's when the game starts, basically. The game is actually, I don't think I've ever played a game quite like this one, Brent. Basically, it's almost like all boss battles, except occasionally you'll have to do some other stuff, and the other stuff's pretty clever. For example, the first guy you fight is this kind of weird demon guy, and you pummel him, and he runs out of this building, and you run out after him, and then he sends a couple flunkies after you. You have to fight those. You have to jump up and climb up on top of the roof, and then you fight him on top of this roof. Okay, so that is the extent of the running and moving portion of the game. You're on basically 2 screens, and on 1 screen for a second. Then that section's over.
Yeah.
There's another, like at one point, this flying woman picks you up and carries you up into the clouds and drops you on an airplane.
Well, she drops you with the intent to kill you. You hit an airplane.
Yeah, and I will say the scene is very clever.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And so you got to fight her, and you fight her on the airplane. And then there's another scene that's really clever, is where you this guy knocks on this building, and so you're running down the falling girders of the building. And so there are parts like there's a part where you run through the sewer. So there are some parts where you have to move around, but for the most parts, when the battles with the bosses come, they're just steady. They're just in one room, and you fight the boss.
Well, this is a platformer. I mean, it's
not real. I didn't get that.
No, it is. It's a platformer because especially later in the game, there are certainly aspects where you have to make precise jumps to complete the stage. It is just a platformer that focuses on bosses.
I don't
it
think
definitely has a very high
There's
boss.
not enough platforming in this thing to call this a platform.
No, it's a platform. It's a platform.
I'm going to disagree with him on this one. Where did you have to make precise jumps? I got most of the way through the game.
There's a point
you talking about the girder start part?
Well, where you're jumping up the girders.
Yeah.
There's that. There are parts in the sewers where you have to make
those jumps aren't precise.
There are points where you're running away from something that's advancing, and you have to duck and jump under different things. So I would 100% call it a platform.
Well, we're going to agree to disagree. There's very few parts.
It's an action platform.
The majority of this is just fighting the bad guys.
That's true.
Now, the bad guys in this, I'll have to say,
they're awesome.
They're awesome looking. They talk. They give speeches. They transform into stuff. They melt if you kill them sometimes. Some bad guys jump out of the bodies of other bad guys. Some jump into other people's bodies. These are all straight out of your anime nightmares.
Yeah.
You've got something that looks like a demon transformer or truck.
Oh, you got to the car?
Yeah, you've got...
Did you get past him?
No.
Oh, well,
I watched it, though. I saw the whole thing.
Okay.
You've got this... You've got the bird woman is pretty cool looking. You've got her. You've got you've got this Grim Reaper guy that you've got to fight. You've got scenes where you're like, there's one of the scenes where you don't really do much. Again, you could call this a side scroller. It's where you run through there's a scene where you run through the subway train.
Yeah.
And to fight the Grim Reaper guy.
And you're fighting. Cool. There's all the passengers are zombified.
Yeah. And
they get up and try to block your way.
There's a scene where you fight this giant snake, which I thought was a particularly cheap scene, I might add.
That was probably the worst boss in the game.
Yeah.
Visually.
But I mean, it still looked pretty cool. All the bosses in this look cool. I mean, I think they all
Most
look cool.
of the bosses looked really awesome.
And it was all very anime, and I'm assuming these characters are characters that appear later on in the show.
Different demons.
Now,
yeah.
when you play the game, at times you will get power-ups in the form of, well, and these are very adult, you get energy power-ups, and one other power-up. You have a life bar at the top of the screen, and you can eat bananas, believe it or not, to get... That must be something in the show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
To get health. But then when you're playing, occasionally the bracelet will drop out. And so if you pick up the bracelet, you will get you'll get a health bump.
Yeah.
A sizable health bump. And then one of two things happens. If you're playing Zinky, you will go from little wiener boy Zinky to like big stud Zinky for a while. And Stud Zinky's got more power, better reach, and just is better.
More damage.
And it just looks cooler. If you're playing the girl, basically Zinky shows up, Dork Zinky, he shows up. Then he transforms into huge Zinky, and then he sets himself on fire. He shoots across the screen and does damage to the guy you're fighting. It's like a big damage. Now, that's another reason to play Zinky, because you get that power up goes along a lot longer way when you actually get to be Big Zinky. It helps a lot. It's a lot, and that thing saves your butt. And really, that's about the only help you get.
Yeah.
There's no, you're not. This isn't kind of like Final Fight where you're picking up weapons or something. You don't do any of that stuff. No. This is strictly a punchy type affair. Again, this game has a block button that you have to use. You have to learn pretty early on when to block. Another thing about Zinky is he's so short, you can duck a lot of stuff that comes at you, which is pretty cool. But I don't think I've played a game that was so heavily... I mean, if I was an anime fan, this would be right up my alley. And if I was a fan of the show, this would be... Like, I would love to see a game like this with, like, Cowboy Bebop or Ghost in the Shell, a game that I'm intimate with, or show I'm intimate with that had a game that was like this, because it was a really unique game. The big major downside of it all is once you beat it, I mean, you've beat it. So when you go back through it, you're probably not going to be challenged that much, are you?
There's no replay. There's no replay value.
I mean, this is absolutely the kind of game that you would, if you had a PCFX, this is the game you show off the system with.
Yeah.
Because of all the games I looked at, this one was by far the coolest looking and by far the most actual of a game.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like a proper game, you know, and it played like a game. And I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, but it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The unskippable dialogue, once you fail a couple times, you don't want to sit through the main guy's long-winded diatribe again in Japanese. It may be a great speech in Japan, but I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't want to sit through your diatribe over and over and over. It just gets old real quick. The music, everything in it sounds just like you would be watching an anime.
Yeah.
Explosions sound awesome. The scene where that chick drops you out of the sky and you think you're dead, and then this huge jet airliner comes up out of the clouds. Awesome scene. The music kicks in. Very cool. I shouldn't forget to mention one bad guy in this is this frog character, and he must be the comic relief of the show because every time he shows up, something horrible happens to him.
Yeah.
He gets hit by a train. He gets knocked off the side of a plane. He gets thrown in water. A bunch of stuff happens to him until ultimately something really bad happens to him. But it was still that was amusing. So they put a little bit of comedy in there. Overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna give this one.
I'll tell you something. I played through the entire game. I beat the game.
Well done, by the way. How many tries did it take?
One. I did it on my first.
Did you play it on easy or?
Yes, I did play it on easy. The frog Aaron mentions. There's a great scene where he gets knocked off the plane. It might have been when he gets knocked off the train, but he's just laying there, and you can take your character over and jump on him. And he has an animation just for when you jump on him. I thought that was cute. I played as the girl. I found that when you picked up the bracelet and had Big Zinky come out and do a super move, it did a lot of damage, so that was pretty helpful. The game has style for days. The monsters, the big boss monsters are plentiful. They're all very unique. Even though I can't speak Japanese or understand Japanese, I could follow the story. It was all about when you beat up the monsters, they drop the seed and you pick it up, and you're collecting these things.
Yeah.
You're trying to save your the girl that's getting kicked in the beginning gets sucked into the other dimension as well. So you're trying to find her in this alien version of Tokyo. There's a great scene where she's riding the train and she's passing by Tokyo, and Tokyo's just wasted. It's demolished. And it lingers on it, and it has her little box pops up, and she's like, man, this sucks. I mean, you could tell just by the tone of her voice. She's looking out at all the destruction, and she's in dismay. And it lingers on that scene just long enough. It was a great touch.
Yeah.
A great direction on this game.
Yeah, I agree.
There's one of the bosses is this huge car, and he transforms into this big demon car.
It's very odd. Yeah.
License plate on the face and everything. And you beat him down the first time, and he's like, no, I'm not going out like this. So he demolishes the building. So you're falling down this building. You get to the bottom, and you beat him up again, and a big slab of concrete smashes him.
That was I will say that scene. The scene where concrete smashes him. After you beat him, he stands up. He goes, no, oh no! And it takes him like 15 seconds for this slab.
Yeah,
I mean, even Brent, even at 8 frames a second, Brent could have got away this slab of cement, but not this guy. He's too busy reveling in his own defeat. He's like, no! Didn't think it smashes him.
And of course, you go on to the next stage, but he's not done yet. The concrete wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So he's chasing you through the building, and it's actually an intense sequence of running and jumping over obstacles.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, you see your friend, and she's like, she's standing there. You're like, oh, I finally found you. We got to get out of here. This big monster car is chasing me. And you go to run with her, and she traps you in a room
into
a compressor.
Yeah.
So the thing's getting compressed, and now you're fighting in this, like, literally, like, 1/4 of the screen dodging this guy's attacks, and he's getting crushed by the compressor, but you're still beating him down the whole time.
Yeah, that was
And as you
awesome.
do more damage, the compressor compresses them a little bit more, and you can't run because the wall your friend trapped you in. And when you eventually do the last bit of damage, and you jump out of the compressor, and it crushes them.
Yeah.
It's very Terminator-ish, but it was the music swells, and the direction of this was so good.
Yeah.
So good, so much, so satisfying. And of course, you get into the other room, and it was all a trick. Your friend's been possessed by this little demon imp thing,
Yeah.
and this is
he's a jerk.
this is toward the end of the game. And then probably the most disappointing fight, to be honest, outside of the snake. The problem with the snake boss was it looked crappy because it had a segmented body, and all the segments were just barely attached to each other, and it looked crummy.
I thought it looked okay. I thought it was just a
compared to everything else. It
fought
looked crummy.
cheap. The thing had like swords that just
easy fight. It was an easy fight.
I didn't. I thought it was harder.
The big boss guy, of course, you beat him down the first time, then he turns into super boss guy, and you beat him down again. And the game ends. I'm guessing this is part of the end.
I don't know what the heck was happening at the ending.
Well, I kind of get it.
I think that guy was like Zinke's rival.
Yeah, there's a guy that shows up at the very beginning, at the very end of the game, that's super mega powerful. Like, the big super boss guy gets up at the end to kill everybody and has your character up over his head, getting ready to, like, rip her in two. And this guy shows up, it's like, tink! It just, like, flicks him and he explodes.
Yeah.
So he's like the super mega demon with his pet fox, Shadow Fox, and takes the last eyeball, and that's how the game ends. And let me tell you, brother.
Zinke throwing a tantrum at the end.
Yeah. When this game ends, it ends. It runs through the credits, it goes to a black screen, and you have to reset your console. There is no button press to take you anywhere. It
Really?
just, man. But I thoroughly enjoyed this game.
Yeah, this was
It really kept me going. Like I said, some of the art direction, some of the camera pans, the sound, even though I couldn't understand a thing, it was so nice.
It was a beautiful,
beautiful
game. And the problem with it, you go through it about 40 minutes, and then that's the end of the game. And like you said, there's little replay value. Yeah. And top of everything else, what you needed was a game about 5 times longer.
Yes.
You know?
But, I mean, I get it. You're 100% right. The game has no replay value. It has, it's way, way too short. I beat the whole game. I started it not knowing anything about it. Beat the game on easy in less than an hour.
Yeah, I put it on normal.
Well, whatever. I mean,
I'm just saying.
When you die, you have limited credits for continues. Yeah. But if you're going to play a game, if you're going to go through the heartache of setting up a PCFX emulator, or you buy a PCFX for some reason, this is a must-play game. It is fun. It has a lot of unique little twerks to it. It is really probably the shining star of what I witnessed on the PCFX.
Well, now let's get to the meat and potatoes here. I did find 2 reviews of this. Now, these are more modern reviews from people over here in America. Game Fan Magazine gave this an 85%, and
I think that's fair.
Honest Gamers gave it a 60.
No, that's too low.
Well, they probably some of that may be based on the fact that it's short.
It is. It's a one shot. Now, would I run out and buy this game? Like, if this was a game,
you won't. I can tell you that right now.
If this was a game nowadays, it was on Steam. Let's say it cost $15. I don't think it would be a good deal.
Yeah.
This is a game that would be perfect for a rental because you get a movie-like experience.
It is funny that we've never seen this again because, I mean, it's not that funny, but I mean, you could easily dub in some subs on this thing and put it out, and people would love it.
Yeah, I would. If this was on Steam with American translations for, say, $7, I'd purchase it because I thought it was fun to run through.
So, this is easily the rarest game we've ever looked at.
Oh,
most
my gosh,
expensive.
Really?
I saw people. Now this game has a rep for being big money. Okay, keep in mind it's a CD. On eBay, I found a couple copies that were, and I've read it by people. This game going for over $1,000.
Wow.
There are people. There's a couple people. Both one had $1,300, one $1,400 on or best offer boxed. It's a very rare game. I went ahead and looked up what the console was going for in case you're interested. All these are out of Japan, and so the shipping is going to be sort of brutal. If you want one in the box, you're looking at around $350 going up, working. $250 if you are between $250 and $120 or so of just the console with no box, and then again you're paying shipping on it. So I mean, some of the ones that weren't tested. I saw them going as cheap as $90, or that said not working or untested. Apparently, these things, the CD-ROMs will go out pretty regularly on these, and so it's not something that's going to be that's going to last forever. This system's another and a series of missed opportunities we've talked about. You know, you can see fragments of this in the TurboGrafx. This was a stupidly released machine in the States with one joystick port. It didn't have anything but RF out. They were late on getting the video standard correct on that. And I think the TurboGrafx wasn't perfect, but this thing was like they compounded their folly from hardware to the software side, and you've got a big miss on this one, a big miss overall.
Yep.
So, with all that said, we never miss when it comes to spinning the wheel, and this week is no exception. Let's give it a shot.
Music?
That's right.
Ah!
Now, tell them what we added this week, Brent. You don't know, do you?
Yeah, you added it, so I don't know.
This week we're doing early 90s video arcade.
Okay.
That's what we've added here. So here's your wheel.
Oh, boy.
All right, Brent, so spin the wheel.
It is a colorful wheel this week.
It is.
You know, any hopes?
Well, listen, we got rid of the one that really scared me. So after this, because I just didn't know enough about the PCFA, so I learned a lot this week. I will say that it was a machine I know nothing about.
I could go for some Channel F.
Okay.
That is a arcade of some sort. What do we got there? That is late 80s arcade. Okay.
Late 80s arcade. Now,
Sweet.
wow. Now that is going to be easy picking.
My goodness, there are so many good games.
You talk about a major league difference between the late 80s arcade and PCFX. I mean, that's as different as they come, isn't it? To be honest with you. So,
you know what? I'm going to pick a baseball game based on anime.
Oh, boy. That ought to be good. So, before we break it out here today, we want to wish everyone, all of our dedicated viewers and listeners, and all the folks that are watching live in the chat. We were late again. Tell them why we were late, Brent.
I forgot that recording started at 9. I was under the impression we started at 9:30.
And your impression was given how?
Idiocy? Oh, yeah, I wish.
Too much of the bubbly over here on my shoulder. Also, the ever-present audio problems that linger day to day on this show. But we hope everybody had a great Christmas, and of course, this show will be coming out just after New Year's. So we hope everybody here had a great New Year's.
Yeah, have a good one.
And we're looking forward to another fun, wacky year of ARG Presents. We've got a lot of crazy new pie pieces that are going to be putting in at the first of the year.
Yep.
And we're looking to have a lot of fun. We're having a good time going live in the chat. We got anybody in the chat room there, Brent?
Oh, tons of people. Tons of people.
Throw some shout-outs in there, Brent.
Well, I will let you run down the list there.
You can't read, sir?
Hey, John Marshall got in.
We got
big,
Amiga Bong. That's Bong. In there, Matthew Perone, I see there. I see, I'm blind as a bat. Nuno. I don't remember seeing you before, sir, so welcome aboard. And I'm sure I missed a ton of people, but Brent's font is on, like, fine print. I can't read that, dude. Look at these bottles here. So, let's call it a night. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we have done all the damage we can to the PCFX.
I agree. So, next week we're going to damage the arcades.
Yes.
So, until next year, Happy New
Year! Woo!
New Yari?
I don't know, man.
You suck. Goodbye, everybody. New Yari? What the hell is that?
Because I didn't want to do a Happy New Year. That was
Why
lame.
not?
Lame.
It's the new year. Happy New Yari.
That's right.
That's not lame.
It was my Japanese influences.
Oh.
What? Yori's a character in an
You
anime.
suck. Chat room, thanks. Sorry we're late again. Also, sorry we've got the wrong headline up there. We're working on it. That was mine. That part I'll take credit for because I couldn't remember a password.
I don't know if credit is the right word. Blame, maybe. Maybe blame.
Screw everybody. Hey, listen. We will try to do better the next time.
No, we won't.
As they say. So we hope you enjoyed it. And next week
We'll do better only due to repetition.
you know, the PCFX was a pretty interesting. I mean, the story behind it was interesting. It's so ludicrous that I didn't even believe it. I had to read a bunch of times to confirm that this is what they did. It's totally wacky.
I did find that it released for a price tag equivalent to $300 US.
Oof, oof.
So
That's not too bad. Of course, that was $300 back then.
yeah, and also,
That's hard to believe.
just
They act
games.
like it was really expensive. What, 82 games? He got something.
Man, no, that's horrible.
Well, I know.
That's horrible.
For that amount of time, it is bad. Well, we will catch you guys again next. Thanks for joining us, guys.
The next week is late 1980s arcade games.
That's right.
Someone asked in the
that's going to
chat.
take some time. I'm going to have to sit around because, boy, I could pick a couple that I know very, very well.
I should have a little extra time this week, so I'm hoping to unearth a doozy.
Oh, boy, that'll be nice. All right, guys. We're going to cut her off then. We'll see you guys next time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amiga Bang. You'll see it on Wednesday.
Bye, Bong. It's Bong, not Bang.
It's a bop?
Not a Bong. It's Amiga Bong. He's, I believe he is in South Korea.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, he shows up every week. All right, guys. Have a Happy New Year, man.
Have a
or
good one,
Happy
guys.
New Year.
It's Yang.
Sorry. Bye-bye.